Whether the Unitarian Church of Evanston is your spiritual home, or you are seeking comfort and connection in uncertain times, we are grateful you are with us. We are an inclusive and welcoming community, seeking truth in love and striving to nurture the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us matters, and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. Together, let us remember our oneness, our kinship with one another, and may we hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention. There are many links of connection in the Show More section, including credits for the readings and links to virtual religious education for donations and to be added to our email newsletter list. Most of our authors and composers are from the LGBTQIA+ community. If you want to look up more information, I invite you to look into the order of service today. A few announcements. The all-church Zoom gathering will be on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. We'll send a reminder email in the early afternoon on Wednesday with the link. Please join us. We hold a virtual coffee and conversation after this service for 30 minutes on Zoom. You can find the link in the Show More section or in the newsletter. This evening, Rainbow Alliance is hosting a bonfire at UCE to celebrate Pride Month. There will be s'mores. Come dressed in your best Pride gear and mask, bring a chair or blanket to sit on, and bring something to decorate the lawn, as our congregation will be one of the stationary floats along the Evanston Pride car parade route on June 26th. You'll find the link to register for this evening's event in the Show More section or in the newsletter. And now I invite you to get your chalices ready. Set a place for yourself and your family as we join in beloved community.
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, the sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of voices too. The sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and the will to trust. Leave the rest behind, it'll turn to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of all of us. Ooh, this is the sound of one voice. One people, one voice. A song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
We light this chalice in northern Illinois on the traditional homelands of the Council of the Three Fires, the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations. Many other tribes, such as the Miami, Menominee, Ho-Chunk, Sac, and Fox, also call this area home. We name these in honor and respect for the land, all the animals and plants that have lived on and through the land, and all people who have been and remain a part of the earth. We name these as one small effort toward greater accountability and deeper relationships with our ancestors and descendants. Our opening words are the poem Glow Hope by Mary Sheldon, who's our former director of religious education. Mary identifies as a white, cisgender, bi woman of size who currently serves as the director of lifespan religious exploration at Countryside Church UU in Palatine, Illinois. As Jean, Lizzie, Renee, Erlene, Laura, Jordan, Shirley, and Christine of Rainbow Alliance light the chalice, please join us in saying the words printed on your screen. More than relic, living symbol, beacon to the bewildered, illuminating refuge, light of love, calling to community, signal of sacred mission. Shine now in the world, set being ablaze, kindle our courage, ignite intuition, spark our hearts to service, glow hope. Please join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Our first reading this morning is titled Our Common Life is Enriched and was published by the Religious Institute, a multi-faith organization dedicated to advocating for sexual, gender, and reproductive health, education, and justice in faith communities and society. It is read by Hope Lehman.
We are grateful for the gift of our lives and the gift of other people in our lives. Each of us is created with dignity and worth. We are called to love one another and to do nothing to others that we would find hateful to ourselves. We honor the many ways that people live and love. Our common life is enriched when queer, transgender, bisexual, lesbian, and gay people can come out, sharing the gifts of their sexual orientation and gender identity. True justice flourishes when all people can live and flourish. We suffer when LGBTQ people are oppressed, excluded, or shamed by religious people who overlook the fundamental call to love one another. Love does not exclude. We are all worthy. May we work to build a world where all people are celebrated and loved. We celebrate sexual and gender diversity as a blessing that enriches us all.
Lesbian is part of my identity. Lesbian. In a perfect world, that wouldn't matter. But it has mattered quite a bit to me in this world. When I came out to myself at 21, I started dancing. And when I came out 40 years later, fully came out, I had joined a lesbian feminist chorus and I began to sing. And in a bunch more years, I married the woman of my dreams. I came out in 1971 with a kiss. Judy and I were colleagues and friends, and we'd been falling in love with each other for months. The falling in love with a woman was, for me, that'd been happening my whole life. But that kiss, the mutual love, that was new for me. I was engaged to my college boyfriend, and my dad had told me that I didn't love my fiance the way my sister loved her boyfriend, something that really confused me until that kiss. An integral part of myself had fully expressed herself, and I was just overjoyed, absolutely. But a couple of weeks later, my Greek Orthodox upbringing loomed in front of me, even though I had let go of the church many years before. And there was my boyfriend. I wasn't quite ready to let go of him. But eventually I did. And Judy and I moved in together, and it was just total bliss. I felt married for life. But there were some difficulties. We were isolated. We lived in the suburbs. We didn't know any other lesbians. And we struggled quite a bit with being in the closet, both with our families and at work. We started venturing into the city, and in time, everything changed. Judy found a new love. She quit her job as a high school counselor and ended up working in an all-women's painting company to paint houses. I was totally heartbroken, but quite determined to find that bliss again if I could. After a year or so of therapy, I moved into a gay and lesbian neighborhood on Chicago's North Side. I joined an all-women's karate class, and I danced in a lesbian bar, the local bar, 3 nights a week. At the same time, I taught high school in one of Chicago's south suburbs. But somehow that distance between work and home made me feel quite at ease living a lesbian lifestyle at home that I hid at work. But I really longed to be fully out, fully myself in all aspects of my life, and to be accepted. And with that in mind, I came out to my parents. Children of immigrants who were shocked and dismayed. My mother grabbed her throat, she shrieked. It was as if I had come in to say that Renee had died just minutes before on the front stoop. My father became uber rational, and the next week came to my home saying I was wrong. I couldn't be gay. I wasn't gay. They would have known, and they would have done something about it. After many fraught months, we tentatively reconciled, but with the caveat that I not tell my extended family, a caveat I adhered to until my mother died 36 years later. In the summer of 1977, 2 years after I had come out to my parents, Anita Bryant of Tropicana orange juice commercial fame came to town espousing lesbian and gay hatred. Her coalition, Save Our Children, had successfully worked to repeal a Dade County, Florida act that banned discrimination in employment and housing based on sexual orientation. Can you imagine, 1977? I felt compelled to march at Medina Temple along with 5,000 others. But I ended up getting my picture on the front page of the Chicago Sun-Times. I actually remember hearing the click of the camera, and I grimaced in response. The photo captured me head to toe in blue jeans, a red hoodie, and that grimace, along with an impeccably dressed gay man in a suit and tie with a picket sign who was in the foreground. He came prepared to be photographed. My entire Greek family lived in Chicago. My Uncle Pete was a printer for the Sun-Times. All I could think about was how mortified my parents would be. As a high school teacher, I could be fired from my job, and suddenly that distance between work and home had shrunk immeasurably. As it turned out, folks saw the picture. Family members did, people at work. Nobody said anything, except one of my former students came to ask me whether that was me in the photo, and another former student hugged and cringed the adjacent wall every time we walked down the hall and past each other. But nothing happened, nothing detrimental. But it didn't matter. I stopped going to marches. I did attend the pride parades, but only as a very carefully camouflaged bystander. That march had galvanized the lesbian gay communities and gay rights in Chicago, and the following year saw a dramatic upswing in attendance at the Pride Parade. Yes, there were trans people, queer people, but that wasn't talked about at that point. But though the Pride Parade had increased in enrollment, I felt exposed and harbored a very deep fear of being discovered and physically harmed and shunned. 44 years later, my fear of being harmed can surface, but it's very rare and very short-lived. I'm a short, white, cis woman. I can pass for straight, and I'm very lucky to live in Evanston, Illinois, where I can walk hand in hand with my beloved wife without fear of being kidnapped, beaten, and murdered, as can happen in some parts of the U.S. and in the world. Plus, times have changed. A month ago at Greek Easter, surrounded by my entire family, siblings, nieces, nephews, cousins, and more cousins, I stood with my wife as just another family couple, feeling loved and accepted.
Lesbian feminist conductor and composer Joan Zizimko was commissioned to write She Who Makes Her Meaning Clear by Muse, the Cincinnati Women's Chorus. The lyrics of the song are comprised of a quote from lesbian poet and lyricist Audre Lorde, combined with the African name Lorde took later in her life, Gamba Adisa, which means warrior, she who makes her meaning clear. Please enjoy this version of the song recorded by Artemis Singers, Chicago's lesbian feminist chorus.
Hi, welcome to today's Story for All Ages. I already have my protest buttons on because we're going to read a book called If You're Going to a March. The author is Martha Freeman and the illustrator is Violet Kim. If you're going to a march, you're going to want a sign. A recycled pizza box works well. Since you're going to be outside, be sure to check the weather. You'll want layers for cold, an umbrella for rain, or a hat and sunscreen for sunny days. Wear sturdy, comfy shoes. Travel light, but pack snacks and water. If your grown-ups choose to drive, parking may be tough. You may want to walk or bike if it's not too far. Otherwise, take the train or the bus or the subway. You probably will not go by hot air balloon, but don't you wish you could? So many people have come to the march. Just like you, they are showing they care about their country and want to make things better. Some people make speeches. They get excited and shout. Still, it's possible this part might get boring. A march is serious business, but it's not healthy to be serious all the time. If there's music, feel free to cut loose and dance. The speeches are over. It's time to pick up your sign and march. Some of these signs say, hate has no home here. Do the math and science. Speak up. Peace begins with me. Double knot your shoelaces so you don't trip. If you're careful, you won't get lost, but make sure you know your address and phone number. You might have to use the bathroom. If you do, give your sign to someone to hold. If you've made a friend, ask them to wait up. There will also be police officers at the march. Their job is to keep people safe. Some of them ride bikes. There will be reporters too. Their job is to tell the truth. If you want to answer their questions, speak in a loud, clear voice. There will be cameras everywhere. It's okay to smile. If your legs get tired, you can hitch a ride. Protest is patriotic. While you march, you will probably chant. Good chants are, show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. And people united will never be defeated. If you see people who disagree, be polite. Sometimes democracy looks like disagreement too. Maybe you will sing a good old protest song like, we shall overcome. Look around at your family and your friends and your neighbors singing. Strangers are singing too. All of you together, all of you caring. Now you know for sure why you came to the march today. There's a warm feeling in your heart. At last, it's time to go home. You'll wish for that hot air balloon. Later, you'll be tired but happy. Today you showed everyone you care. You did something good for your country. Whoops. Don't let your markers dry out though, and keep saving pizza boxes. You will want to have them ready for next time. Pick up your sign and march. The end.
This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that? This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Oh, this strength that I have, this strength that I have, this strength that I have. Oh, yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This strength that I have. Oh, yeah. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This strength that I have. Oh, yeah. The world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it. The world can't take it away. Oh, this love that I have. This love that I have. Oh, yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This love that I have. Oh, yeah. The world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that? This love that I have, yeah. The world didn't give it to me. Singing, the world didn't give it. The world can't take it away. Oh, this pride that I have, this pride that I have. This pride that I have. Oh, yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This pride that I have. I said the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that? This pride that I have, yeah. The world didn't give it to me. Oh, I said the world didn't give it. The world can't take it away. All this peace that I have, oh, yeah. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give me my peace. This peace that I have, oh yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. Won't you sing about peace? This peace that I have, oh yeah, now. The world didn't give it to me. I said the world didn't give it. The world can't take it away. All this joy that I have, this joy that I have, this joy that I have. Oh yeah, now, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have. I said the world didn't give it to me. Don't you know that? This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away.
Resistance Revival Chorus believes in the words written by the poet Toy Derricott when she wrote, "Joy is an act of resistance." We believe in the words of Mr. Harry Belafonte, who said, "When the movement is strong, the music is strong." We sing to revive the hearts of those who fight for social justice, and we sing together for freedom.
I hope you are enjoying the music this morning. I am moving in my seat and am grateful to those in Rainbow Alliance who all pulled together and brought all of this various music into our service this morning. It is our time for joys and sorrows, and you may submit your joys and sorrows through the Google form found on the homepage of our website. Alternately, you may send myself or Reverend Eileen an email. These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared with us ahead of time. Carolyn Chandler shares that this past Wednesday, she and her husband said goodbye to their dear, buff, tabby cat, Oscar Wilde. Oscar lived to the grand old age of 21 and was her main companion for many years that would otherwise have been very lonely. He will be sorely missed. Tony Ray shares a real joy that the city invited everyone to share ideas about how to spend the $43 million in federal money coming to Evanston, that so many people came and shared so many meaningful suggestions, and that Mayor Daniel Biss really seemed to hear us all. She says it was a spiritual experience. Lizzie Powers shares that as we gather for our second Pride during COVID-19, I want to celebrate the wonderful group of people who helped plan and contribute to this service. It has been a joy meeting monthly with everyone involved and has been so inspiring to watch our ideas go from just a Google Doc to a Sunday service. Every day I am thankful for and moved by this LGBTQIA plus community I am so lucky to be included in. Happy Pride, everyone. We know that these are not the only joys and sorrows that are on our hearts. Let us take a moment of quiet now to read to ourselves the joys and sorrows that have been added to the chat. We hold these together in care and tenderness. And I invite you to say aloud the names of those who you are holding in your heart, those you are still missing seeing in person, those who are struggling, those who are sick, or who have died, or have had loved ones die. As we say their names aloud, we gather them into this community that knows no walls. as well as the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken. Together, we expand our celebrations and lessen the burden of our grief. I invite you to join me in an attitude of prayer and meditation as I share the prayer for all that is our life by Reverend Liz Weber, a UU minister in Concord, Massachusetts. Spirit of life, help us to be present with all that is our life, both our deepest sorrows and our greatest joys, so that we can truly live, engaging fully in our own life and in our community. Spirit of community, help us know how linked we are, how each one of our cares touches all of us. Help us to ask for support when we are in need, and offer our support to others when we are able, so that we may rest in the solace of one another's love. Spirit of love, help us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves, so that we might fully embody love and resist hatred. Spirit of resistance, help us to stick up for what is right, even when we are tired or afraid. Help us to dream of the world as it should be and to act to bring that world about. Help us to find hope each day. Spirit of hope, help us through this day and each day. Help us to be present for all that is our life. For all this we pray. Amen, and blessed be. Please join me in singing hymn number 95, There is More Love.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace
Our next reading is an original poem titled Maybe It's Something in the Air, Maybe It's You. It was written and is read by Forrest Marie Peters Linsell.
Maybe it's something in the air. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's the pink of your blush over powder baby blue veins on your white skin. Babe, come here. Lie down. Let me do your makeup. Maybe it's the magentas and teals in my hair, mixing with your cat-shedded fluff, white like snow. Darling, look, I can make constellations with your hickeys. Maybe it's the light blue lake reflection off my roughed-up carnation car into the blinding sun rays kissing our sandy stomachs. Beloved, wake up, have a strawberry, a spoonful of ice cream, or the fluffiest cheesy eggs of your life. Maybe it's the way we look at each other, laughing with the foam of toothpaste dribbling out our grinning jaws of life. Lover, your voice is tickling down my spine. Maybe it's just time. After 6 years of here and there every other season, maybe it's you. Maybe it's the weather. Maybe it's finally the day you get to see the very first sunrise. Maybe you'll make up a brand new color when you catch your breath beneath the bruise flag colors bursting through the daybreak clouds. Maybe it's just time.
How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How deeply you're connected to my soul.
UCE remains a vital part of the world and our community, and because we continue to need one another and the blessings of community, we take time to give our shared plate. The Shared Plate program allows us to give half of our collection plate each month to an organization who helps us live into our mission of making the world whole. Nominations for next year's Shared Plate program are being accepted now. If you would like to nominate an organization for next year's Shared Plate program, please submit a form through our website. The link is in the newsletter and the Show More section in YouTube. The deadline's June 30th. Today's offering of our collection plate will be shared with the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, which is an organization dedicated to promoting the rights of immigrants and refugees to fully and equally participate in the civic, cultural, social, and political life of our diverse U.S. society. To give, you may text, send in a check, or give from our website. If you send in a check, please indicate in the memo line if your check is for the shared offering, pledge, campaign, capital campaign, or some other giving. Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy.
Our final reading this morning is a poem titled Breath, as in Shadow, by Rosamund King, who is an American poet and literary theorist. She is a literature professor who focuses on Caribbean and African literature, sexuality, and performance. Her poetry collection, Rock, Salt, Stone, won the Lambda Literary Award for Best Lesbian Poetry. It is read by Gray Wiviat.
Breathe. As in, what if the shadow is golden? Breathe. As in, hail, assuming, exhale. Imagine that. As in, first person singular. Homonym. As in, subject. As in, centerfold of the world. As in, mundane. The opposite of spectacle spectacular. This is just us breathing. Imagine normalized respite, gold in shadows. You have the right to breathe and remain. Imagine that.
When I was in college, we had a lot of conversation in the queer group about whether it was better to resist or reform. At the time, being queer was still a much bigger deal than it is now. Some people felt that it was better to get to know other people and then come out, because by then you were a real person to them and they were more likely to accept you. Resistance was the idea that it was okay to be unapologetically out and, in theory, avoid having to come out. I was always team resistance. I looked so obviously queer that it didn't feel like there was much of a point of trying to hide it, and in my mind it made more sense to just not make friendships that I had to worry about when I came out. I don't know that there was a right or a better way, but that was the one that made sense to me. It took me a while to realize I was transgender, because when I was coming up there was no language and no transgender adults in my world. It took even longer to get to where I had the language for non-binary, for the same reasons. And through it all, I was non-binary, and I did my best to resist a world that didn't have language for how I felt. I still have to resist. Like many trans people, I have avoided contact with the medical system as much as possible. Now I have multiple physical health issues that make that impossible. I'm finding that, at least in Chicago, medical systems have come a long way. I'm consistently referred to with he, him pronouns, even though it's often obvious that I was assigned female at birth. I very much prefer he, him to she, her. But my pronouns are they, them. I'm learning where to push for them to be used and where to take he, him as a win. It helps to look back over my whole life and realize I've always been resisting, even when I didn't have conscious awareness of it. And so having physical health issues puts me in a new system where I still continue to resist. It's easier now. I'm an adult and I have language and I have a beloved community that supports me and where I don't have to resist. And when I'm out in the world, especially navigating medical systems, I remember the people who came before me that made it so that I get that he, him. And I do my best to make it more likely that the people coming up behind me will get their they, them.
Please join me, the section leaders, and several members of Rainbow Alliance in singing hymn number 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People.
We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives.
Our closing words are adapted from the Reverend Maddie Cefantes, who is a past co-president of the UU Society for Community Ministry. Community ministry focuses on ministry outside of the parish walls, such as chaplaincy in hospitals, with hospice programs, or in prisons. Reverend Cefantes focuses on working with elders, music and healing, and death and dying. As members of the Rainbow Alliance extinguish the chalice, please join me in saying the words printed on your screen. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it out to the world we live in until we are together again.
Trusting that you know who you are, even during those moments when you can't express it. Knowing that you are loved by this community, just as you are. And recognizing that resistance is hard and often essential to expressing your authentic self. Go out into the world to celebrate the joy of being you. Blessed be. Go in peace.